Welcome, Joseph, to the show. I'm really excited to have you on. Quite frankly, we don't have a lot of people that are funny or that do funny things. Now, you mentioned before we got on the show that you're not as funny as your writers, but this still should be fun. I mean, you do funny sales videos, right?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, the big thing that helped us to get where we are today was when I made a conscious effort to reach out and find really good writers. And we can get into, how I did that, how your audience could do something similar. But, lest anyone thinks that I'm going to start cracking jokes, it's my writers really that get the credit for being funny.
Well, and by the way, so, you have a bunch of samples on your website. Will you please give the website address right now?
Yes. Yeah, it's funnysalesvideos.com, just the way it sounds.
Yeah,
and you can go there and see, a whole bunch of different examples of our campaigns.
Yeah, so I looked at a couple of them, which actually were similar. It was the woman talking about the laundry detergent that's not plastic jugs, but it's this, piece of paper or whatever it is. And she's actually very talented. And then I looked at the guy one where it's real men do laundry or whatever. Which was for the same company, obviously. I have to say the guy one made me laugh a little bit more, maybe just because I'm a guy. But I thought they both were funny. What I was impressed with was that your writers, they're each a little over 3 minutes. But what I was impressed, I've studied comedy a little bit. I don't do comedy. And we do soft skills training where we try to put in comedy. So that's why I relate to it. But I was very impressed with your writers that they've got a constant flow of jokes going on.
Yeah.
You don't have to wait.
Well, it's all about grabbing your attention in today's overly communicated ADD, attention span. It's about grabbing your attention, but more importantly, keeping your attention long enough that, yes, we can entertain you, but most important, we can sell you. And the more you can tell, the more you'll sell. So the longer we can keep people watching our videos, and we have statistics to back all of this up, and we can talk about how, we do that. But the longer we keep you on, the longer versions of our videos outsell the shorter versions of our videos. And so that's really the key. It's story-based marketing. Everyone loves to hear a story. Nobody likes to be sold. And so we're basically tricking you into entertaining you, and then kind of, Jerry Seinfeld's wife once wrote a book about how you sneak vegetables into good tasting food in order to get your kids to eat it. That's kind of how I see our jokes are the good tasting food, and the sales part are the vegetables.
Yeah. No, it makes perfect sense. So that begs the question, what are the shortest videos you produce and what are the longest ones?
Well, in order to explain that, I'll give you just a quick overview of my background. So I started this company 20 years ago. Now, we didn't call it funnysalesvideos.com at the time, but we basically started as an infomercial production company. And we produced 30-minute long infomercials. And, huge projects that would take us, a year sometimes to produce. Our very first project did over $200 million in sales of ladders. It was the Little Giant Ladder infomercial. We were one of 3 companies that produced it, but that's how I started this business. And for the next 15 years, we primarily focused on television, on long form 30-minute infomercials, because that's the only slot that the TV stations would sell it in for a long form. And then we also did 30-second, 60-second, and even 2-minute short form commercials. But the problem is, I don't know about you, David, I can't remember the last time I watched real live TV. Certainly I don't flip through the channels like I used to.
Yeah. No, I don't at all.
Yeah. If I'm watching live TV, maybe sports, maybe news, but I'm not just sitting there waiting for the next show and watching commercials in between. And so, as you can imagine, after about, 10 years in business, when people started bringing out TiVo and DVRs and, these commercial skipping features, our clients' results just started going down and down and down. And that's when we really started to say, if we don't figure out a different business model, we are going to go out of business. And where were people going? Well, they were going online. They were going onto social media. They were going on to, streaming services like Netflix and Hulu. And all of these other new platforms. It seems like every company comes out with a new streaming platform every week. You got Disney Plus and Apple Plus and, Paramount Plus and Stars. So anyway, we decided, and it's kind of funny, for the first 15 years in business, when a client would call us and say, hey, we want to do a funny video, we would say, sorry, we don't do that. We're not set up for that. Because the worst thing that you can do is try to be funny and end up looking silly. And that's what you'll do if you don't have skilled professional comedy writers on your team. And a lot of people, a lot of businesses are scared to try to do something funny because they've seen other companies try and fail.
Yeah.
But we looked at what the companies, some of the really, really creative agencies in the space, like the Harmon Brothers were doing with their Squatty Potty video and Poo-Pourri and Purple Mattresses. These videos that were racking up hundreds of millions of views, but more importantly, millions and millions and millions of dollars in sales. And so we spent about a year trying to assemble the right virtual writers room. Right. So these were people that didn't necessarily work for us, but we found comedians, like real life comedians that at night they would go on stage at, seedy bars across the country and do a stand up. And then during the day, the next day, they're traveling to their next city. So what do they have on their hands? Time. So they would write for us. And that's kind of how we developed our team of, 10 plus really good writers that probably is the reason why you just said what you did, not because it was one writer that wrote that, but because the wisdom of the crowd always is better than the individual. So fast forward to today, just to kind of finish my story, during the first 15 years in business, we would do some videos and put them online. And the biggest video that we ever got view-wise, we had like 100,000 views on one video on YouTube that we once did. And the very first video that we did after we launched Funny Sales Videos and had this team of really good writers, it was a super, super small company, micro budget, very, very niche. I mean, if anyone ever says, I'm too small for a funny viral style video, this is the case study for them. I mean, it was a video service for a Christian, teach your kids the Bible stories, basically. And we got 7 million views on one campaign. I think it was 3 videos combined that we got that on. But more importantly, we drove $500,000 in subscriptions to this online service. So we knew we were onto something. Fast forward to today, the campaign you just mentioned, True Earth, between, I think we're up to 5 videos. We are about to hit 100 million views and millions and millions. I can't keep up with the sales that those have generated. So, transformational videos that basically turn, simple marketing concepts into entertainment that convert into sales.
Yeah. And I'm pretty particular, and our audience knows that I'll challenge you if I think I disagree or whatever, but the 3 actors that I saw, the woman with the short blonde hair, and then you had the guy with supposedly the 50-inch chest, didn't look like a 50-inch chest, but it was really funny. And then the old guy for the porta potty thing. They all did a great job, and your filming was really good. And I always like it, when you watch a good Despicable Me or Pixar or Disney type of animation, or like the Marvel series that came out previously, you could watch those films 2-3 times and enjoy it because you'd see things you missed. And I felt that when I watched those 3-minute videos, I didn't have the time in my day to watch it again, but I felt that your writers put so much in there that if I watched it a second time, or even maybe a third, that I would catch some things that I had missed that they put in there to be funny, although it was happened so rapid fire. It was good. Now, my understanding is you actually have a free ebook on the 8 steps for somebody to do this on your own. Although, quite frankly, we do this in training through our Habitly platform. We try to do humor, and it's a lot of work. And like you say, you got to get pros going. I don't know that I would recommend somebody doing it on their own, but I think for our audience sake, the do-it-yourselfers out there or whatever that want to try it and then realize they need more professional help, Do you want to walk us through those 8 steps?
Sure. I'll give you a kind of an introduction to why we have it in the first place. So we obviously get a lot of people, some that can't afford to hire us, even though we kind of position ourselves as the most affordable way to do really good versions of these videos. Some companies can't afford it, so we basically just wanted to give them something for the people that we said no to. So you can download this, but I think you hit on some key points there I just want to underscore. There are 8 steps that we take every campaign through. And I would say that 6 of them, you can do them on your own. With no skills, with no technology, the studio, the camera, the lights, you can get away with 6 of these steps. 2 of the steps, you can't. And I'm not saying you have to hire us to do those 2 steps, but I'm saying you need to reach out to professionals for those 2 steps. And those are the actors that you pick. So don't try to be funny. Even if you have a great script, if you're not a really good actor, and not just a regular actor, a comedy actor, don't try to do it yourself. Hire professionals that live locally, and we can cover how to do that. Second one is the writing. You've got to reach out to freelancers, really good, skilled writers. So just keep that in mind as I run through these 8 steps. But I wanted to give those 2 tips so that people don't think, hey, I can just go do all of the 8 steps myself and get the same results.
Well, let me validate that for a moment. So when we started our Habitly courses, the first, I think, 3, we were testing. So we did it on our own. I did the acting with some friends, and we went into a studio type of thing. We wrote them, we did the acting. And then Jeff, my son, who really drives it, said, we need professional voice actors and we need a professional writer. And we stopped. And I agree with you. It's made a world of difference. It's much better with the professionals. And it is great.
And that's great to hear. So step 1 is marketing 101, do your research. Forget funny, forget entertaining, forget all of that until you've done your research. I kind of explain this like, would you ever write a letter, walk to the mailbox, and then decide who to address it to? That's what people do when they make these videos, but they don't really stop to think, who is it that's going to be watching this video? Or who do I want to watch this video? And what are the problems that person has? And what kinds of environments does that person live in? How can I make this video as personalized to that person as possible? Now, obviously, in the world of advertising, you want to be as broad as possible. In other words, I want to hit a big market, but still niche down on specific types of people, customer avatars. So you want to start with, sex, age, income, what is their day like? I mean, the more detailed that you can get, the better. So most businesses have a good idea, but the one exercise that I tell people to do is go read at least 100 customer reviews. Now, hopefully you already have that. If you don't, go find your nearest competitor that most closely aligns with your business, read their customer reviews. Get a really good idea, not of the Kool-Aid that you've been feeding yourself. Even if you're the CEO of a company, an entrepreneur, you may have started a company because you wanted to solve a problem. Most of the time, there are underlying other reasons why people are buying your product or service that you may have never considered. So the best way to create a video that's going to connect with your customer is to start by listening to them. So do your research.
I think it's great. And I think that also I want to do a call out to the audience too. If you are the CEO, if you are the founder, even an executive of a large organization, you're even more likely to be insulated from what those true needs are and those true triggers that are going to get somebody to buy, because you've made assumptions based on your limited experience, your slice of the pie. And, going through that exercise, worst case scenario, you confirm what you know. But I love your idea, Joseph, of looking at a nearest competitor or multiple ones to see where the pain points are that are coming up there. That's brilliant.
Thank you. So our typical video, you already mentioned, is about 3 to 4 minutes long. And a lot of people say, well, that's way too long for these, online short attention span viewers. And I come back with the data that says that the majority of the time our longer videos outperform our shorter videos because people don't stop watching because they're long. Netflix is still serving up 2-hour videos and people are watching. Why? Because they're engaging, they're entertaining, they keep your attention. In fact, I could go off forever about how Netflix has completely changed the landscape of filmmaking because you've got to get people into the story quicker or they'll just go on to the next movie. But the point is, as long as you're engaging, you can keep their attention, grab their attention, but in about 3 minutes, you have enough time to hit on multiple benefits of your product. So what we are doing when we're reading those reviews is we're looking for 3, 4, maybe 5 top reasons why people are saying that they buy. And then we're working those into the script. Now that's a prioritized list. So your number 1 reason, we make that list and we kind of tally off every time somebody says, I like it because it's, it's fast or it's cheap or it's whatever it is. And so we're hitting people over the head with the number 1 objections more times than the 5th objection. But also you want to look for why are people saying they don't like your product or don't buy or think that, your next competitor is cheaper, so they're going there. If you're getting enough people raising objections, you either need to go back and rework your product or you need to address it head on in the marketing. And an unresolved concern will stop any sale. So if your product is more expensive, you've now got an opportunity to explain why it's more expensive and why that ultimately will lead to them saving money in the long run because they won't have to buy 3 of your competitors compared to 1 of yours or whatever it is. So in this first research step, you're coming up with your top selling points and if needed, your top 1 or 2 objections that you have to overcome. Okay. So again, that's step 1 marketing. Step 2 is the fun part. That's the brainstorming. That's the non-judgment zone when the worst ideas are welcome. So typically in our writer's room, virtual writer's room, we look for 50 bad ideas. Let that sink in. 50 different concepts. Now, what's a concept? A concept is who's the main character in my video and what's the problem that they have. Nothing else. Don't go any further than that. So you can throw out, Batman, Superman, a nun, a priest, a homeless guy on the street. It doesn't matter. You're just coming up with as many characters, and then you're giving each one a problem that ultimately your service will solve, but don't get too worried about that yet. So it's who is my main character? What's a problem that they have that is going to become the basis for this story? So if you look at some of our videos, the one that you mentioned, it's a mom who has a father that lives with them that has a trouble getting to the bathroom at night. And sometimes we'll go crazy and outlandish. Sometimes we'll keep it very, very grounded and very, very relatable to a situation. That one's more of a very relatable situation that, a lot of people that are looking for the solution, which is a bedside urinal that the parent can now have by the side of the bed so they don't trip when they go to the bathroom at night. Yeah. But, the most successful type of video of this kind was Squatty Potty, which featured a mythical pooping unicorn that craps out ice cream. I mean, it doesn't matter what the situation. Okay. Oh, you should look it up.
I'm just fine missing that one.
It generated over $300 million in sales. You should look it up.
Oh, okay. I guess I better.
Anyway, so what we do is once we come up with 50 bad ideas, somewhere in there, and this is the part that I can't really tell you, do this, then do this. Somewhere in there, you will see at least 3 or 4 or 5 that are ideas that you could see then taking into production. So as an agency, we'll present our top 5 ideas to our client with a recommendation for which one we think is the best. But ultimately, it kind of comes down to gut reaction and also testing on people that you know that fit your demographics. So if you have, a customer base of loyal customers that you can send an email out to and say, just for fun, play with us. Here's 5 ideas for a video that we're thinking about. Give us some feedback. Which ones do you like? Which ones make you laugh? Which ones would you like to learn the story about? This is especially relevant when you are not the customer avatar. So businesses will say to me all the time, well, what's the difference between producing a funny sales video for a SaaS company that has a very sophisticated CXO that I'm trying to target and an acne cream that has a tween that you're trying to target? Well, the difference is we've got to write to their specific pain points, but also test it out on those kinds of people before we take it into production to make sure that they're responding well to it.
So Joseph, this wasn't my plan to kind of validate as you go, but we're 2 for 2 here. I want to validate the 50 ideas because the guy who wrote, Gary Keller, who wrote The One Thing, which is a great book, what he did was he and his team came up with 100 ideas and they narrowed it down to one that really worked. And that was the idea that catapulted their business. In a similar vein, Norm Brodsky, who's a leadership expert, works with entrepreneurs, he says that he interviews 25 people before he finds one good candidate. Doesn't mean he's going to hire that person, but he has to go through the rigorous exercise of 25 people to get to one. And you're saying 50 to get to that idea. It's very reasonable. It makes perfect sense. And I love, the way you're talking about touching base with your core audience. Makes perfect sense.
Thank you. And I think that concept that you just outlined, it doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter what the application, your first idea is never the best, or maybe once in a lifetime. Multiple ideas will lead to better informed decisions. Okay, so step 3, once you've done your research, you've brainstormed a bunch of ideas, you've settled on the one that everyone feels good about, you've done your research. Step 3 is begin the scripting. Now, we have 3 different phases of scripting. And I could spend forever on this, but I won't. The first step is we've kind of already done it. That's the marketing scripting. So the copy points of what are the 4 or 5 main points that you've got to get across to get somebody to buy. And then the 1 or 2 objections. So that's a skeleton of I've got to hit on these points in order to make a sale. Remember, we're not entertaining people for entertainment's sake. We're taking them from knowing nothing about your business to I want to click on this link, whatever the call to action is, to go to the next step, whether that's fill out a form and attend a webinar, whether that's buy now, whether that's just fill out my information and a salesperson will contact me. It's cold traffic to sold on the action, whatever that action is in 3 minutes or so. That's our goal. So after we've got our copy points, that's when we bring in our creative writer. And they will basically take that skeleton of the marketing copy points, take the brainstorm idea and tell a story. And a story, Donald Miller has a great podcast and a book called Story Brand. And he talks about the hero's journey. And your listeners, if they're interested, should go check that out. But basically, the premise is you've got a character who has a problem, who meets a guide who has a solution that basically shows him how his life is going to be better and ultimately makes that journey from problem to solution to my life is now better. And that's the arc of pretty much every Hollywood movie. You think about Star Wars, you've got Luke Skywalker who doesn't know who he is. He meets the guide, Obi-Wan Kenobi. He teaches him the ways of the Force, and then he becomes that Jedi, master that is ultimately his self-actualization. So anyway, that's the story arc that you're looking, because ultimately you want the viewer to say, yes, I have that problem. And, I've just met the guide. And now I need to take the step of clicking the link below so that my life, my problem, whatever it is solved. Okay, so once you've written your script using that framework, and this is where a really good storytelling scriptwriter, we're not even to funny yet, but a really talented storytelling person has written the script, then we bring in at least 5 professional comedy writers. And we say, here's the script. It's not funny. It's entertaining, because Star Wars was entertaining, wasn't funny. At least most of it wasn't funny. But here's a script. Now you got to make it funny. So you got to punch it up with jokes. You got to add in witty dialogue. You got to throw in quirky things here and there. You got to throw in shocking, attention-grabbing visual things that happen. Because remember, 80% of the people that are going to watch your video have the sound off, and they're watching it on a screen that's about this big. So you've got to use everything in your trick tool bag to grab their attention and to get them to turn the sound on. So that's why the first 5 seconds of your video is the most important.
That's very interesting what you're saying about not to sound on. I never thought about that. And now, do these 5 writers, have we moved on to step 4, or are we still in step 3?
Oh, so sorry. Yes, we have.
Okay,
thank you for keeping me on track.
Okay, that's good. So are those 5 writers working together collaboratively, or are they individually all kind of submitting ideas that they have?
A little bit of both, but mostly independently. Let me explain. So we have on every project, and this is very important, we have one person, and typically that's me. We're a very small agency, and I love to be in control. So I'm the creative director. So from the beginning, I'm not doing any one thing. I'm supervising the whole process to make sure the vision stays true from beginning through the end. You see, you could have the funniest joke that literally makes you pee your pants, but if it doesn't further the sale, it has to be cut. A comedian doesn't care. A comedian doesn't care about that. A comedian cares about being funny, but you have to have somebody who is true to the vision of what's the goal here. The goal here isn't laughs, it's sales. And so what I do is I have all of the writers submit their jokes. Now they have a little bit of interaction because it's a shared document where they can see each other's comments, and one may add to somebody else's. Does that make sense?
Oh, no, it makes perfect sense. I think that adds value.
But ultimately, I or whoever is the creative director is the one that has to say, I decide whether to integrate that into the script or whether to cut it. So once that process has happened, and you can really only have a really funny script with multiple really funny, really clever writers. And the way that your audience can find them is the same way I did. 2 ways. Number one is go on to online freelance services. So Fiverr is probably the biggest one. Upwork is another one. There are a few others where people are basically freelancing in their spare time, and they have an account. You can go there and you can look up all of these comedy writers. You can also find, creative writers and all kinds of people. The other way is to literally go to your local comedy club and watch comedians. And the ones that you like, go up after the show and ask them if they'd like to work for you. Or go on YouTube and find people that have comedy channels and send them an email. You'd be amazed. I won't give you his name, but somebody works for me that is the lead writer on an NBC sitcom and works for me for extremely reasonable rates. And so, you never know unless you ask these people, do you have extra time? Would you like to see, an example of what I've done before? And maybe if you don't have an example of something that I'm trying to emulate. And then, you're only asking for a few hours of their time to read through the script, throw out as many jokes. And when you get 4 or 5 or 6 people doing that, you'll be amazed at how much great content. Most of the time, the problem is what do we keep and what do we throw away? Because we don't ever want to go that much longer than that 3 to 4 minute mark. We've kind of seen that that's kind of what people will give us with what we're putting out. Okay, so that's step 4. Step 5 is the production. That's where the rubber meets the road. You've got your script. It's ready to go. Along the way, you've been testing these jokes on people, seeing if they like them. Obviously, you've got gut reaction, but you want to test the waters with your customer avatars. One piece of advice, never go into production with a script that's not ready to be produced. And what I mean by that is a lot of people will think, well, it's kind of good enough. It's funny enough. As long as we get some really good actors and really professional cameras, we can make up with, we can make it better in the production. No. A bad script with the best actor is still a bad script. Make sure you spend the time. That's why our typical video takes 4 to 6 months to produce. The scripting itself is at least 2 months. because you've got to give it time. You got to sleep on it. You got to, think about it. You got to let other people sleep on it. And you'll find ideas come in the middle of the night when you're out jogging, when you're, taking a shower. Let it marinate a little bit. A rush script is never a good script. And then in the production, we've already talked about this. More important than the right cameras, the right crew, the right lighting, the right sound is the right actor. We'll go through about 100 options before we pick our actors. Now, let me break that down because this is something that most people don't think about. But auditioning an actor costs you nothing. The very job of acting is, let me audition for a bunch of roles, and then I'll actually get paid for one or two. So what we do is we go to our local agency, we'll pull up their website, acting agency, and as long as you're in a decent town, you have an acting agency, and we'll look at maybe 100 actors. We'll watch their demo reels, their videos, examples of the work that they've done before. We've got a certain look in mind, but don't get too caught up into that. You're looking for the performance rather than the look. Sometimes, the weirdest looking characters can be more attention grabbing. So don't have any prejudice as to what that person is going to look like, but watch their demo reels. And then what we'll do is we'll pick probably about 20 of those, and we'll send them just a short section of the script. And we'll say do a self-tape from home. And after COVID, everyone has a setup. If they're, an actor for sure. I mean, pretty much everyone, regardless, has a setup now. But they'll do a short video and they'll email them to us through their agent. And we'll sit and we'll watch them. And then we'll pick our top 3, 4, sometimes 5. And what we're going to do then is we're going to do a callback. Again, we're not paying for any of this. A callback is what we're doing right now. It's a live Zoom where I can say, okay, David, read that section, and you'll do it. And then I'll say, okay, now read it faster. Put the emphasis on this word. Slow it down at this part. Can you make this, a little bit more accentuated? What I'm doing is I'm making sure that they can perform under pressure. Because anyone can do a good audition when they can be in the comfort of their home and do 20 takes and pick the best one, but can they perform on the moment? So once I've done that with 3, 4, 5 actors, and I'll normally do that with me, the actor, and the client, so it's a 3-way Zoom, so that they can kind of be involved in the process. But second to the script, the most important thing is picking the right actor. If you do that, you've done 80% of your job. Get a good script, a good actor. So the last part of
production step, or have we moved up?
But we're still on production. So the last part of production, and this is where some people, you can get away with doing it yourself. But if you really want the results, hundreds of millions of views, millions of dollars in sales, there's a difference between doing it right and doing it yourself. But doing it yourself, following these steps will be better than the results that you're getting now doing it yourself. But if you really want to separate yourself, hire a professional video production company that you can see examples where they've done this before. Because 99% of the videos that people see as they're scrolling through their Facebook feed or YouTube channel or Instagram are shot with a cell phone. So to look different than that, to stand out, to disrupt, which is what advertising is all about, that's where using the really good cameras, lighting, and more importantly, a team who knows how to frame up shots and make things look right will be worth its weight in gold. So that's step 5 is production. Produce it right, and you'll get the results. Step 6 is editing. Now, you made a comment earlier that I just got warm and tingly inside. You said that it felt like there was so much being, I'm paraphrasing you, but you said if you watched it back again, you'd see other things. Well, guess why that is? It's because we bombard you with so much information, both visual and audible, so that you don't get time to get bored. That's the key. So an editor, and that's step 6, is editing it the right way. A really good comedy editor understands the difference between putting the cut here and putting the cut here. So you've got the same actor telling the same joke, but if it's cut the right way, it can be the difference between it being funny and it falling flat. We also take out any breaths. We don't let you stop for a second. I mean, it's visual overload the whole time we're running this video. Yes, people will click away when they realize it's a commercial, but they won't click away because they're bored. That's our goal.
Yeah. So when I was watching, and by the way, I think our audience is probably feeling the same thing I'm feeling. I'm hearing all this time that goes into producing this. And when I'm coaching any of our clients, I'm always saying, hey, focus on your strengths. Don't try to make a weakness a strength. And so unless you have a background in doing this stuff, I mean, for myself, and, I do a lot of writing, but it's different. And, I'd much rather hire a professional, find a budget to be able to do that, where you've got the expertise and you're going to spend all those hours, because you can get something done really well in 10 hours, 20 hours, 100 hours. And if I try to do it myself and try to come close to that professionalism, it's got to take me 2x, 3x, 4x that number of hours, and I'm still not going to do as good a job. When I watched the 3-minute video, so I looked at 3 of them on your site, okay? So the one that was on the porta potty thing, the topic just didn't appeal to me. It was like uncomfortable. So after watching a little bit, and I really liked the acting, it was really well done, but I'm just like, I don't want to watch this one. So I watched the woman selling the alternative laundry detergent, and then the man who was Real Men Do Laundry. And the reason I stuck it out, now 3 minutes, we do micro learning with Habitly also. So everything's under 4 minutes, same type of thing.
Yep.
But the reason I stuck it out, and I'm ADD. So for me, it's like, oh yeah, it's pretty fair. I could jump on, but I was curious, what's the next gag they're going to throw my way? And so I kept watching, and that's what kept me in there.
You just described our process is opening 5 to 10 seconds, throw as much, we're throwing everything we can at you creatively to grab your attention, because we know that's the most important part. Then we'll tell a story, and then we'll throw another hook in because we know we're about to lose your attention. Then we'll tell more of the story. Then we'll throw another hook. So it's kind of like every 15 seconds, you have to at least throw some joke or visual interest or something, because we're constantly recognizing that you have a million other things that you would probably rather do than watch a commercial. So we better earn your attention. Yeah. So thank you. Yeah. So the final step of editing, and this is one that blows some people's minds, our videos, so we have 3 different packages depending on pricing, but our middle package that is the most popular, we will edit 36 different versions of your video to test which one does the best. Let that sink in for a second. So the same video, we edit it 36 different ways, and we will, Facebook's algorithm tell us which one people like the best.
Wow. And that's, I mean, there's an obvious thing there for the audience. I don't have time to create 36 different edits or direct that. And I don't even know whether I want to spend a lot of time testing.
So the way that we get to 36 is we do a full-length version, and then we'll do a half-length version, something like that, under 2 minutes, because we know that some platforms we can't put a 4-minute video on. Instagram changed recently, but they used to not let you upload anything less than 2 minutes. We also want versions that we can retarget you. The very first time you watch a video isn't our only chance. Once you've watched it, we then want to serve you something else the next time you come around, and those shorter versions are great for that. We will create 3 different opening hooks. Now, the porta potty video, I actually did a vlog on LinkedIn that it kind of went viral. We got a lot of people that liked that, where we showed how the exact same video, we had 3 different opening hooks to that. Version 1 got us a 1.9 return on our ad spend. So every dollar we're spending on advertising, we get $1.9 back in sales. Version 2, we got a 2.7 return on ad spend. So significantly higher. But version 3, we got a 4.1 return on ad spend. Quadrupled our clients' money, sold out of 100% of inventory within 2 weeks. Now, we never would have got to that 4.1 if we hadn't tested the difference between those 3 hooks. And again, if your audience is interested, go to LinkedIn, look me up, Joseph Wilkins, and you'll see, I think it was my last post that I did. But that's the difference between just guessing which version people would like and making one version of the video and doing a scientific method to find out which version.
And do you guide this test with the client, or do you just take it yourself and run with it with a certain budget?
So we only do creative. We work with other agencies to actually run that creative. And we have preferred agencies that we've worked with for years, or we can work with, our client's in-house team. We basically will tell them what the process is, but they do it themselves.
Okay.
So we also will test 3 different offers. So one could be, so depending on which hook, and then there's 3 different offers. So one could be, click now and buy one, get one free. One could be click now and get 15% off. One could be click now and get more information. And so we're testing at every step. So again, we're doing 3 hooks, 3 offers, a long version, a short version. We're doing versions that are square for Facebook, where the subtitles are burnt into the video by a graphic designer. You never want to allow Facebook or YouTube to automatically generate those. Again, back to the fact that 80% of people are not listening to your video. So you've got to visually let them read it. And then we also do a widescreen version without the subtitles for YouTube and TV, where we know your sound is going to be on. So that totals up to 32 different versions that will give your digital marketing team the fuel they need to really scientifically test this video and get the kinds of results that we get for our clients.
So you have the 3 pack. I didn't click on the offers, but you have the 3 packages online so people can see what this might cost and the time it might take?
Yeah. If you go to funnysalesvideos.com/next steps, but basically our 3 packages are 30,000, 40,000, and 50,000.
Okay. And what I like is also when they go to your site, they can see plenty of samples. I mean, I don't know how many you have on there, but you had a ton. Yep. And, I just encourage our audience, Joseph, to really check this out. I mean, humor sells, stories sell. Donald Miller, great guy. We track what he does. He's a super guy. Yeah. And they do great work. You mentioned him. And this funnysalesvideo.com, I mean, if nothing else, you need to be aware of it. Maybe do it now, maybe consider it in your budget in the future. I mean, I'll be candid with you. We're going to consider it because this is the type of thing that we need also. And I told you, we're doing humor in our courses in Habitly.com. But we need to also do a funny ad. We haven't done a funny ad. And I don't think we want to do it in-house either, although we're doing some of the things. I still, at this level, with what you're doing and the testing and everything else, I want to hire a pro. I want to work with somebody who really knows how to make this work. So Joseph, any closing thoughts for people? Or
well, just the final thoughts are, I've already covered step 7, which is testing. You want to test. Step 8 is forget going organically viral. So what this isn't a video that you're going to make and then just put on YouTube and it's going to go viral. No, that doesn't work anymore. This is paid advertisement that performs much, much better than what you're currently running. I typically tell people it's like a vending machine full of $100 bills that cost $20 to use. How many times are you going to want to use that? But you do have to start it with paid ads. Exactly. But that's my final thought. I mean, everything that we've done in my 20-year career, nothing has performed anywhere near as high and as fairly affordable to get into as these kinds of videos. So I'd encourage your listeners to think about it. And, whether it's with us or whether it was somebody else, think about how do I disrupt my competition? And the more boring your market, the more disruptive it'll be because nobody else would do it.
Yeah, no, I love it. So they can look at you on LinkedIn, Joseph Wilkins. They can also go to funnysalesvideos.com, check out what you got going on. Encourage you people to do that. Joseph, I thank you for being on the podcast, for contacting me, or your folks did, to come on. This is really interesting. I love it. And we're going to look into it. I'm candid about that. I don't say that unless I am going to do that.
Sounds good, David. Well, it's been great being on the show. Thanks for having me.